Praise the Lord. Woo. All right. Sound the sound. Oh yeah, 10 seconds left. Get ready, people. We're going to be lifting them up tonight because there is nothing impossible for our Lord. Amen. Woo. All right. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Those that are here and those that are watching online, get ready to lift up the name of the Lord. Amen. So let's all stand. Oh, yes, Lord. Have your way here in this place. Not only here, but also those that are watching, wherever they're at, Lord, that they feel your presence in a mighty special way. In Jesus' name, amen. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and... Here we go, come on. Through you, I can do anything. I can do all things, 'cause it's you gives me strength. Nothing is impossible through you. Blind eyes are open, strongholds are broken. I am living by faith. Nothing is impossible. Oh yes. I'm not gonna live by what I see, oh no. I'm not gonna live by what I feel. Deep down I know that you're here with me. I know that you can do anything. Through you I can do anything. I can do all things, 'cause it's you gives me strength. Nothing is impossible through you. Blind eyes are open, strongholds are broken. I am living by faith. Nothing is impossible. Oh yes, hallelujah. Come on. I'm not gonna live by what I see, oh no. I'm not gonna live by what I feel. Deep down I know that you're here with me. And I know that you can do anything. Oh, through you I can do anything. I can do all things, 'cause it's you gives me strength. Nothing is impossible through you. Blind eyes are open, strongholds are broken. I am living by faith. Nothing is impossible. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I believe, I believe. I believe, I believe in you. I believe, oh yes. I believe in you. I believe, I believe in you. Come on. I believe in you. Through you, I can do anything. I can do all things, 'cause it's you gives me strength. Nothing is impossible through you. Blind eyes are open, strongholds are broken. I am living by faith. Nothing is impossible. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I believe, oh yes, yes. I believe in you. I believe, oh yes I do. I believe in you. I believe, yes.
Amen. Before you're seated, wave at somebody and tell them you're glad they're here. Make sure you wave at Peggy and Larry. We're so glad they're here and doing well. Praise the Lord. You may be seated. Hey, let me encourage you if you're a part of the 100 Days of Prayer. I know someone texted us and said they were having a hard time opening the app. The reason for that is you're probably not connected to your Wi-Fi. So please make sure that you're connected to your Wi-Fi, because the minute you are connected to your Wi-Fi, it comes up very easily. And so you click on the 100 days. We are in week 3, and our weeks start on Monday. So there's 7 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Starts again week 5 next week, or week 4 next week. Will be starting on Monday. And so we'll be starting with prayers of intercession. And then the following week, we'll do prayers of thanksgiving. And all the staff got homework today. They all have to write a prayer of thanksgiving so that the pastor's not doing all the work. Because I sat today and I wrote all 7 prayers of intercession. And I said, if I can do 7, you can do at least 1. Come on, somebody. So you got to earn their resources. So I've had several of them in my office all day today asking me how to do this. And I said, ask the Holy Spirit. He'll show you. Amen. So anyway, I've already read one, by the way. Somebody's already turned theirs in, and it's very good. Amen. So, no, it was Matthew. So praise the Lord. So anyway, be a part of that, because we're shaping. Now, we're praying about all kinds of stuff. So I encourage you, if you can, join with us on that. Those of you online on Facebook, go to the app. The app is the easiest way to get it. The first button on the app is the 100 Days of Prayer. And we keep 2 weeks up. So if you didn't get week 1 and you'd like it, just text the office, call the office, and they'll make sure that you get week 1 so that you can stay up to date. Praise the Lord. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, August 18th is the primary day. And for those of us that live in the city of Sebastian, these primaries are becoming more and more important to us because of what has happened in our city. And so, although we won't be making any changes in our city on the 18th, I think it's important that we realize, just like we steward our time, just like we steward our money, we need to also steward our vote. And so, you pray and ask the Holy Spirit what He would have you do, and pray and vote your values. Amen? Amen? Thank you for 3 people that believe me. The rest of you, you don't know yet. All right. We're going to give right now. We're going to pray over the offering, and we have 5 ways to give. The easiest way is the app, but if you'd like to give in person, 2 stations at the front, 2 stations in the back. The ushers will be back there for your convenience. Let's all stand, and let's pray. Matter of fact, right there, go back to that one slide. Go back one slide. See that the next to the heart where it says COVID-19, that is no longer the button there. It actually says 100 Days of Prayer, so that's the button, all right? Because who wants to talk about COVID-19 anymore? I don't. Amen. So let's pray. Father, thank you for the privilege, and it is a privilege. We don't have to, we get to give into your kingdom, to tithe, to give our missions, faith promises, to give whatever you've laid upon our heart so that other people can come to know Jesus Christ as our Savior, Lord. We're so grateful tonight, Lord. Would you bless, would you multiply, would you meet every need as we give in Jesus' name? And everyone says, amen and amen. Let's give.
Oh, yes, oh, yes. Hallelujah. We thank you, Lord. Take all I have in these hands and multiply, God, and all that I am, and find my heart on the altar again. Set me on fire. Set me on fire. One more time. Take all I have in these hands and multiply, God, all that I am, and find my heart on the altar again. Set me on fire. Set me on fire. Here I am, God, with arms wide open. Oh yes, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. My heart stands in awe of your name. Your mighty love stands strong to the end. You will fulfill your purpose for me. You won't forsake me. You will be with me. Woo. Here I am, God, with arms wide open. Oh yes, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. Oh, here I am, God, with arms wide open. Oh yes, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. All to Jesus now, oh yes. All to Jesus now, oh come on now. Holding nothing back, oh yes. Holding nothing back. Come on tonight. I surrender, and I surrender, and I surrender, and I surrender. All to Jesus. All to Jesus now, yes. All to Jesus now. We're holding nothing back, yes. Holding nothing back, and I surrender. Oh, I surrender. And I surrender. And I surrender. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Your power at work in me, yes. I'm broken gracefully, and I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Your power at work in me. I'm broken gracefully. I'm strong when I am weak. I will be free. Here I am, God, with arms wide open. Oh yes, pouring out my life, gracefully broken. Oh yes, here I am, God, with arms wide open. Oh yes, yes. Pouring out my life, gracefully broken. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Hallelujah. Oh yeah. Walking around this wall, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. Oh yes, oh yes. You've never failed me yet. Thank you, Lord. And I'll never will forget. Never, 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 never. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Oh yes, oh yes, hallelujah. Lord, we lift up your name here tonight. We will never ever forget. We will never ever forget you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for extending your hand. Thank you, Lord, for always being there. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. And those that are watching online, thank you. Thank you, Lord. Just give them thanks. Just give them thanks. It may look like there's no way, but God will always make a way. And we thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord. Oh, yes.
Thank you, Lord, that you're hearing our cries. Thank you, Lord, that you hear our concerns. Thank you, Lord, that you hear our prayers. Thank you, Lord, that you hear our intercessions. Thank you, Lord, that you are good. You're always good and you're only good. Thank you, Lord, that we are believing that Dave Laguda is going to be even better than the report we got earlier this evening, Lord God. We pray continued healing in his body. I thank you, Lord God, for a wife that stands in faith for him and a church that stands in faith for him, believing for his healing. We say the same thing over Orlando's dad, Freddie, right now in the name of Jesus, Lord. Papi, we pray, Father, healing. We pray, Lord, that they'd be able to take that ventilator off and that he would respond, Lord God, accordingly, Lord God. Touch his mind, touch his body to respond to the treatment, Lord God. Strengthen those lungs right now in the mighty name of Jesus. For every person that's struggling or having issues, whether it's with COVID or other issues, we speak healing by faith according to your word. Your word is true. Your word is yes and amen. The promises are yes and amen. May we stand firm on your word that says by his stripes we're healed. And so, Lord, may we claim the benefits that we're supposed to have in the Word of God according to the Psalms. God, for those that are needing a financial touch, we pray the same thing, Lord. Provide. Be Jehovah Jireh, their provider, Lord. We believe it in faith. Lord, we pray for all the boys and girls that will be headed off to school here in the next couple weeks, Lord God. We're praying safety. We're praying protection. We're praying health right now in the name of Jesus. And so, Lord, we're believing that you give our leadership, our school superintendent, and our teachers and our administration wisdom, Lord God. So, God, have your way. Anoint Pastor Sue as she teaches tonight. Anoint Jim as he leads the Man Up group. Anoint Angie as she ministers in 180. Anoint Estelita and Robert and all the many blessings that they have given to those boys and girls tonight as they get a backpack full of supplies and even shoes to put on their feet. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord, for all the goodness. Thank you for your grace. Lord, we just bask in your presence. And Lord, we thank you in Jesus' name. And everyone says, amen and amen. Come on, give Jesus a big hand tonight. Amen. Amen. Go to Facebook tonight and watch on the kids page, on the church page, or Estelyn and Robert. They have just... God has blessed them with all kinds of supplies for those kids. Every kid gets a backpack with school supplies and shoes, brand new shoes, given to them. And I'm telling you what, it's just amazing. So When the enemy thinks he can turn things around for evil, God turns around for his good. Amen. All right, guys, if you're going off the Man Up, you're following Jim over to the den. And for the rest of us, we're standing here for Pastor Sue. Come on, Pastor Sue.
Let's do as we always do on Wednesday night, and let's take just a second or two because we want to make sure that the Holy Spirit is involved in everything we do. Father God, I just turn this service over to you tonight. Precious Holy Spirit, I ask that you would guide and lead this class as you would have it led. Father God, I pray that you would just open our ears, Father God, to hear what you want us to hear. Open our spirits, Father God, with fertile soil so that the seed of the word can be planted. And Father God, I just pray that you would give us, Father God, an insight of what you want us to see concerning faith and how it needs to move even more so now in this time than ever before. Now, Holy Spirit, I turn this service over to you. Lead and guide the way you want. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Okay, we'd like to say thank you for everybody that's here tonight. I praise God that Christina made it tonight. We were praying for that, and she did make it. So thank you, Jesus, for answering that prayer. I just want to say welcome to everybody that's here from on Facebook. I continue to forget to do that, and I'm so sorry. But I am glad that you're here. I am happy for the responses I get from you. And we pray tonight, I prayed especially for those of you watching online tonight and by YouTube and Facebook, that God would help you to engage in a way that you've never been able to do before. So tonight, as we all join together, we're going to be doing things just a little bit different tonight than we normally do. But I really believe this is how God wants me to do it, so I am going to follow his instruction. Tonight, we're going to be talking about what most of us think that we lack in. And sometimes I think that for the people like myself that's been saved so long, that sometimes that we have a tendency to actually forget about the walk that God has given us and the ways that he has planted things in our spirits so that we can be able to follow even closer to him than we ever have before. Tonight, I want to take you to a place called the Faith Place. And faith has a lot more to do with your provisions that you assume God is giving. Now, that it wasn't very clear, so let me make it a little bit clearer. Faith has a lot more to do with you allowing God to give you the provision that he has already provided for you. I think that sometimes that when it comes to faith, that we think more if it's what we have to say or what we have to do or how we have to muster up enough faith to get God to do what we want him to do. Can I just tell you one thing? God already has your life planned out. God already has a map for you to walk on. God already has everything in store for you that you need to complete the walk that he's given you. All you have to do is to trust him and listen to him and obey what his word says. I was trying to do some studying about something entirely different, and I come across this little article, and I thought this is perfect for what we're doing tonight. There was a study done not too many years ago, and it was like seeing how much worry that people have in their life. And you may have heard this little story before, but it says only 8% of the things that we worry about ever happen. Did you know that? It said if you took all the fog that was in New York City and you condensed all that fog and put it in a glass, it would not even fill that glass, and that's about the amount of worry that ever comes true in our lives. But yet we allow the enemy to get us so distracted and so concerned about everything that's going on around us that our faith just is not there. Now, I don't know what your week has been like, but I can tell you mine has been warring from Saturday morning right on through. I can't discuss the things that I am praying over and battling against at this point, but I know that I stand and giving Satan notice that he will not have any ground that I own, none. It is much harder for you as a born-again Christian to take back ground you lose. So let me tell you here and now, don't lose ground. And the only way you can hold on to what God's given you and to walk further with Him is to stand strong in Him and to trust Him and to believe that He has your best interest at heart no matter what is happening. This is what happens with people so much, and I'm no different than you guys are. If you think I'm one of those people that says, okay, this is just how it is, and I can sit there and just everything happens and I don't have to do anything, you're wrong. I am just like you are. I have to go to battle for the things that God wants me to have in my life. I have to go to battle for the people that God has put in my life that I love and I care about. I have to go to battle for the people of this church and people I come in contact with because I love this church and I love the people God puts in my path. But I tell you what the enemy wants to do. And I want you to remember this if you don't remember any of the other lessons I've taught you so far. The enemy wants to distill fear in the hearts of God's people. He wants to make you so afraid and he wants to make you so intimidated that you don't stand up and you don't fight for the things of God. Never in my whole entire life as a born-again Christian have I seen men and women of God falling, succumbing to the fears and the tactics of the enemy like I see right now. I stand in agreement with your pastor. I'm over it. I'm done. COVID, whatever. You know, God still is God. He has not changed. God is still able to do above whatever that we can't even imagine how much more God can do. But the enemy is taking that and he's shaking entire churches. He is taking that fear and he's shaking people till they don't even want to be around each other anymore. They want to hide out and they think they're safe there. Can I tell you where you're safe? You're safe with Jesus. And if you're listening to Jesus and you're lifting up your shield like you should be and you keeping your faith strong, God is with you and He is never going to leave you and He's going to see you through no matter what it is. We have to understand one thing. God is not the author of any kind of confusion. And if there is confusion on any aspect of what you're dealing with in your life or you're trying to help somebody else through, let me tell you, that's the enemy at work. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to steal your faith. He's trying to get you to think that God don't care about you. Do you think God sees what's going on with you? God don't care about you. His lies, his tactics. So our faith says less about what we believe about ourselves and more about what we believe about God. Last week, the thing I wanted to leave you all with last week is don't be intimidated by the schemes that the enemy tries to use against you. I want to tell you, as somebody that has experienced the battle this week, I try my best to wake up praying, to pray through the day, and pray before I go to bed. Not because I'm afraid of anything, because I need that. You may not need that, you may be all right. I need that. But let me tell you, as strong as I think my faith is, and as strong as I think my trust is, and as high as I think I hold my shield, the enemy still tries. And if you think he won't try because you think you've got it all together, then you're just wait. If you're not having a battle now, if your faith is not being tested, believe you me, brothers and sisters, it will be. Be ready. Be ready. Keep your armor on at all times. It's not to just be laid down and picked up whenever you want it. When Paul was talking about this particular piece of armor, this piece of armor was very important, and he wanted you to see what the Holy Spirit showed him about this piece of armor. The Roman people, the Roman soldiers of Paul's time was the most strategic armed forces that there were. If anybody saw that group of people coming, those Roman soldiers coming, believe you me, they were going to take high ground because they knew when they were out and about, it was going to be their way. They were in charge. Two different things about the way that they walked around with their shield of what we will now be using as faith. There was two pieces of armor that was very important. And one of those pieces of armor, remember I told you, was the belt of truth. That would always have to be hooked on them before they put any other piece of armor on. But it was very vital that that was on and that was secure, and they were very girded in that. Because by the time it come to put that shield on, that shield carried a lot of weight, and it had to be with them at all times. Anytime you saw a Roman soldier out, you would see him with a shield. A Roman soldier, when he was doing parades and they were celebrating their victories and all that, they would have a little tiny shield. It would probably be about the size of a big garbage can lid. It was very highly decorated. It was very beautiful. You could see it from miles away, and believe you me, that was their symbol of what they were all about. But it really wasn't good for anything. It was just for show. Now I want you to really listen to me, because the Holy Spirit really brought this strong. That was a beautiful, shiny shield, etched and with all their decorations on it. Any acclimates they got was on that shield, so when they marched around, people knew, you know. It'd be like Grant was saying, he had all his sleeve of things from his Sunday school days. It would be like that. It would say what they did and what they accomplished. But it wasn't good for anything. It wouldn't protect them if they were in battle. It wouldn't protect them if they were in the fierceness of the fight. It was just for show. I don't mean to offend, and I don't mean to hurt, and I don't mean to wound anybody. But lots of times in our Christian walk, our faith is not where it should be. Our faith is in show. We can talk a good faith. We can say all the right faith scriptures. But when it comes down to it and the battle is hot and the battle is heated, where is your faith? Where is your faith then? The Holy Spirit showed me that firsthand this week. I'm talking firsthand, up close and personal. And I'm telling you, this is the truth. You can think less of me if you want to, but I'm just telling you the truth because I want you to know how the enemy works. Feeling strong, feeling secure, feeling on top of it, feeling like God was really helping me, staying in the Word, being in the Word, fasting and praying, and feeling strong in faith. I felt the enemy coming. I felt him. I don't know if you do that. I felt him coming. I don't have dreams unless God's warning me. I never have dreams unless God's preparing me for something, He's warning me of something. And I had a horrendous dream, a nightmare, horrible dream. And I sat up straight out of my bed because that's how bad it was. And there was no evidence that any of that dream was true, that any of that dream was real. It's just the enemy messing with my mind while I'm trying to rest and while I'm trying to have some time to sleep. But that's how he works. Can I tell you that? That's how he works. He gets your focus off what you're doing, and then he knows how to come in, and then he knows how to slip in another way that you weren't expecting. Make sense to you? Because that's what he does, because he does not want you to believe in God. He does not want you to trust that God has your best interest at heart. He does not want you to know that God is on your side, and God is always going to be on your side. I told you 3 weeks ago, God is always faithful. Always. Show me some place in your life or somebody else's life where God wasn't faithful. We're not. We're too easy to have our show, to march around like we're good, strong, and got it all together, when the real shield of faith is lacking. Paul wanted us to see that the real shield of faith covered the whole entire body. Did you know that? The shield of faith Paul wanted us to know about was the shield that if you put up in front of you, nothing could get through it. You were covered. You were covered. It took a lot of work to get that shield prepared to be used like it needed to be used to be in the army, to be out there with the Roman soldiers on the street, and to go into the kind of battles that needed to go in. I'm a country girl, so when you say that they tanned hides to make shields, I understand what that means. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't go out killing animals and everything. I'm not an animal killer, but I know how to do that. I'm a country girl. I know how to do that. It takes a lot of work. You got to kill the animal. You got to skin the animal. You got to dehair the animal. You got to degrease the animal. You got to soak the animal's hide 6 to 12 hours to get it to where you can actually put mink oil on it. It's what we used to use to make it subtle, make it usable. So all that work, even to prepare one hide, if you study about it, it was 6 different hides, one right upon another, to make this shield. And not only was it one upon another, they were folded together with all different kinds of leather to really make them strong. And around the corners and the sides where you can get sideswiped, when a sword or something comes at you, that was even made stronger. So even getting hit from the side was not going to do you any harm. Do you understand what I'm telling you? That's how your faith has to be. Even when the enemy is trying to sneak into you to get you from the side or to come in to get you from the back, you've got to have your faith so strong that you're not giving up no ground. You're not giving up anything to the enemy. Your battle has already been won. All you're doing is engaging. But we don't want to think about that. We want to think that God and Grant says this all the time, God is good, He's always good, and yes, He always is. He always is. But listen, people, God's not going to do your job for you. God is not going to do my job for me. God called me to do what He called me to do, and He didn't call me to sit back and let Him do it for me. I have to engage, I have to do the work, I have to study, I have to prep, I have to do what I need to do. Then I give it to God, and God does what He wants to do with it. That's the way your life has to be. God called you into this world for a purpose. I heard somebody say one time, and I thought that's the stupidest remark I ever heard in my life. I'm sorry, it was just the stupidest remark I ever heard. That God has people coming to this earth, He gives them gifts and talents, and it's just because they're good at it, they're not really gifted. Really? God gives us gifts and talents to be used for Him. Why would He give you gifts and talents if they're not going to be used? There's a reason why we have every aspect of our lives that we have. That's the reason Pastor Grant operates so much better up here at preaching and teaching than I do. That's the reason some of you plays music much better than I do. Some of y'all sing much better than I do. Because we all have our strong points that God wants to use. And the reason He does that is because we have a walk with Him. And that walk is by faith. Now, I can stop and say, okay, I've done all I want to do. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to relax, and I'm not going to allow you to develop my faith in me anymore. I thought all through the Bible, there's all different kinds of talk about faith. I mean, there's a whole book on faith. You know, go to the chapter of Hebrews and read all the faith stuff in there. Faith, 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 faith. And I'm thinking, I could never have that kind of faith. His faith is everywhere. But the Bible says there was no faith, there was little faith, there was great faith, and there was a measure of faith. All kinds of faith. Okay, and I really wanted to understand what that meant. Do you know there is beginning faith and there is continuing faith? Now that's easier to understand than all the other things I said, and I want it easy to understand. There is your measure of faith. You cannot even get saved. You cannot even accept the Lord as your Lord and Savior. You can't even invite Him in your heart unless you have faith that He can save you. But that's just the beginning. Over my life, the years I've served God, I've seen God do great things. I've seen him do great things in my family. I've seen him do great things through my children. I've seen him do great things through my grandchildren, and my soon-to-be great-grandchildren is going to be the same thing. I'm claiming it now. Because if you let God continue to work in your life, he will grow your faith. It takes faith to do anything you do for God. Why? I'll tell you why. I'm glad you asked that. Grant would say that. I'm glad you asked. Sorry, sir. Anyway, I like it when he says that. I'm glad you asked that. If God comes to us and he says to us, I want to have you do this for me. And you know the enemy's never going to ask you to do anything good for God. You know that, right? So you don't have to worry about that being him talking to you. Because that's always God when he says, I got something I want you to do for me. And maybe you're a little bit like I was the first time he asked me that. And I said, oh, Lord, I cannot do that. You know the type of person I've been. That was the first thing I said to God. I can't do that. You know the type of person I've been. And I didn't get up and do what he told me to do. But you thought I was going to say I did. No, I didn't. I kept giving him excuses why I didn't have the education that I should have. I didn't have the family background I should have had. I would have embarrassed people because my speech is not as aesthetic as everybody else's is. I'm a country girl and I sound like it. I give him every excuse in the world why I could not do what he asked me to do. And then one day I made the big bad mistake of going to a Pentecostal church where they were talking about this Holy Spirit. Now, I had heard about the Holy Spirit. I came from a Free Will Baptist church and they talked about the Holy Spirit. They just didn't preach about the Holy Spirit. But in that little church, the pastor and his wife was very good, very kind to me and my children. They knew my background. They knew where I came from. They knew what was going on in my life. But they still were very kind to me and my children. And he saw potential in me, and he wanted me to teach the youth at that time. And I didn't understand why I didn't think it was right, but I didn't think it was right for me to be teaching those kids when I don't even know about Holy Spirit. You see what I'm saying? I didn't even know about the Holy Spirit he was talking about, yet he had confidence in me to say that he knew that God, and I knew God had already been talking to me about stuff like that. But I was giving God all these excuses, right? So I bought this book called Good Morning, Holy Spirit by Benny Hinn, and I cried from cover to cover to that book, and I felt saturated by faith through something I did not even understand. No clue. I moved out and I started doing what God had asked me to do by faith. Really enjoying working with the young people, enjoyed teaching, I still enjoy young people and kids. That's just a passion of mine, I just love it. And I watched God, through the power of the Holy Spirit, develop faith in my life to do things that I thought I never could do. I watched the Holy Spirit work miracles when he would tell me, go lay your hands on that person who has cancer and I'll heal that person. And he did. I watched him when a young man came to our church possessed with a demon and he says, pray. You don't have to scream and yell. Just pray and ask it to leave and it'll leave. Now, there was a lot of hoopla going on before it happened, but it left. Now, this is a lot of big stuff for somebody that considered herself to have little faith. Little faith. See, little faith is not what we think it is. It's better to have little faith than to have no faith at all. Because if you have little faith, at least God can develop that faith in you, and he can work through you, and he can show you what he can do with your life. It is not my responsibility. Listen to me. It is not my responsibility to develop your faith for you. That's a thing between you and God, and let me tell you, he wants you to grow your faith. In this day and time, and how the enemy is moving now, and how things are changing in this world, things are drastically changing quickly. We don't need to get left behind. You understand what I'm saying to you? I am more encouraged in my faith walk now than I have ever been. And here is why. Because I know I'm in a place now, I position myself where only God can make it happen. Only God can come through and do what only God can do. But I have to trust Him. I have to put my confidence in Him. I have to put my faith in Him. And I have to walk according to what the Spirit says, whether it makes any sense to me or it doesn't. We want to have our faith just be faith and see everything happen, but we don't want to engage with it. That wasn't clear. The Holy Spirit said that wasn't clear. We want to have faith without engaging ourselves with faith. Makes sense now, don't it? Faith without works is dead. That's what the Holy Spirit just said. Faith without works is dead. And here's why. It's just like taking all the breath out of this body and all you have is a corpse. If I'm trying to have faith and I'm not putting actions to that, it's dead. It's dead. It's a corpse. It ain't going nowhere. To say that I have faith and to move in my faith is to put works to what I'm doing. You know what else is lack of faith? To do what you know you're called to do just because you're called to do it. That's lack of faith, because anything that we do, we should be doing it for God, with Him in forefront, Him out front, so that we can move when He says move and do what He says do. But if we're trying to do it on our own, and we're trying to do it without Him, then it's going to be this way. It's going to be faith, it's going to be works, one or the other, but you got to put them together. Once you put them together, it's like that shield. It's like that protection. The enemy can't get through, because what you're doing with one focus. You're doing it with God in mind, and you're doing it with people's souls in mind. That's why we're here. No other reason. We can't make it look good. We can't drum it up. We can't do none of that, because it's simply about salvation. For God so loved the world, the Bible says, that He gave His only Son. His only Son. That was the purpose. Don't you think that in the day when Jesus walked on this earth, that He didn't see all kinds of people troubled in their faith, working to have faith, doing works without Him involved? The one thing I was praying about, and this is what the Lord showed me last night. When the disciples were going about and they were healing all the sick, they were seeing demons and devils leave people, they were doing all sorts of good stuff. And then there comes a girl following them all through the town screaming, "Look at what good things these guys are doing. Man, they're good. They work for Jesus. They have it. They do. Bringing all the attention to them. Now, I don't know how you discern that scripture, but to me, I don't think they like that. They were working for God, and they wanted her to know that. These things come from God. They wanted her to know that. When we have a tendency to want to be the main focus, guess what? God's going to sit down and let us be that. He will. That's what a gentleman the Holy Spirit is. He will. But when you want to see God lifted up, and you want to see Him forefront, you want to see everything you do say God, you're going to put some actions to what you say you believe. I don't feel like getting up today and going to church. I think I'll just sleep in. Really? I don't feel like teaching the class today. I think I'll just call somebody else and get them to do it for me. I don't feel like going to cleaning today. I think I'll hang out the house. It doesn't matter what God's called you to do. We don't have the option of whether we feel like it, where our emotions are inclined. No, we don't have that. If we're working for God, our emotions, our feelings, whatever, cannot get in the way of that. Because He comes first, and according to your faith, so shall it be. The Bible says it like this: according to the way man thinks about himself in his heart, that's how it is. God wants us to have faith that continues. One of the things I thought was really fascinating, when he was talking to one of his disciples, he said this to him, to the disciples, "O ye of little faith." Do you know that's not really the way that is translated? Because in the Greek, there is no such word as little faith. It's little face. It's like he was calling them a name. "Oh, you little face." And I thought, that is cool, God. I like that. And I don't want God to look at me and say, little face, because I want him to say, "O ye of great faith." He can't always say that about me. Maybe he can always say that about you. He can't always say that about me. Because sometimes my faith gets down. Sometimes, that's one thing about the shield I think most people don't pay attention to. The shield you pick up, remember I told you we changed language when we got to this part. It would go from indicatives to imperatives at this point. It's not just what you have, but how you're supposed to use it. The thing about faith is you can pick faith up and you can lay faith down. The good thing about God, and this is what I saw this morning when I was talking to him, that his mercies and his grace, they're so new every single morning. So if I was weary in my faith yesterday, and I wasn't at the top of my faith, and I was like losing faith instead of gaining faith, I have the option to pick that up and let God make me strong again. I have the options to say, I'm not going to lay down my weapons. I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm going to see God do something. Because I'm definitely in a place in my life now where there is nothing I can do. Do I feel discouraged? Do I feel down? No, I don't. I cannot wait to see how God handles this. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I cannot wait to see how God handles this. And the reason is he's handled so many things before. Do you know that's what builds your faith? Because you know what God's done. And you know he don't change. And you know he's the same. And you know he's going to keep on upholding you with his strong right hand. Always. We get our focus on people. We get our focus on situations. We get our focus on things that's happening around our lives. And we start to lose ground, and we start to lose faith, and we start to get weak. God told me to use this as an analysis. He says he was out preaching to the people on the shores of Gennesaret. He was tired. I know we think God never got tired, but he did. Jesus got tired. He told the guys to get in the boat, go to the other side, and he was going to stay there, and he was going to pray a while. He had tried to do that before, but if you read the whole story there in Matthew, the people kept thronging around him. They heard what he could do, and they wanted to find him, and they wanted to be where he was at, and he went there to pray. He went there to get some rest. But the people found out where he was at, so they followed him. So he said, just go. He preached and he taught and he healed them. And he said, no, just go to the other side. And he said, just go on out. Because he was going to go back up and try to get some rest and pray again. And in the morning hour, according to Luke's thing of it, he saw that the ship was in trouble. There was water coming around. There was a storm raising up. And he saw them out there. Now, the Bible don't say he got worried about them. The Bible don't say he got concerned about them. The Bible said that he went walking on the water toward the boat. And then do you remember who saw him coming? And he thought he was a ghost. Now, people get kind of nervous about that, but keep in mind what I told you in the beginning. That was a lot of stuff that was going on around there. There was a lot of evil spirits. There was a lot of ghosts. There was a lot of different kinds. They had a God for everything. So when they saw him coming, they thought he was a ghost. But one person said, if that be you, bid me come to you. Jesus wasn't the one who said, get out of that boat and come to me. He asked Jesus, if that's you, tell me to come to you. And Jesus said, come. And he stepped out on the water, And I used to want to be a water walker. I used to pray to be that. And then I used to do that. That's how radical I was. I wanted to walk on the water, man. And I really thought I could. And who says I can't? I'm just telling you. But anyway, he said, come. And he got out and he walked. But the minute his focus got off of the person that told him to come in the form of Jesus Christ, the waves took him under and he sank. Jesus, being loving and kind as he is, he reached out and grabbed him. He didn't even let his lack of faith take him under. Isn't that cool about Jesus? Isn't that cool about Jesus? Even in my times when I'm weak and I've laid down my shield and my faith isn't what it has to be, Jesus still says, come. And if I'm willing to get out and do that, no matter how rough it gets, he's going to reach out his hand and I'm not going to go under. And neither are you. And neither are you. Because that's how good Jesus is. That's how kind he is. That's how sweet he is. I'm trying to hurry because it's already 8 o'clock. Jesus fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Jesus had worked hard all day long. He had prayed over people. He had preached to people. He had seen people saved. He had seen people delivered. Anything that people needed that come underneath the voice of Jesus, they got what they needed there at this particular site. And then he says to his disciples, poor Pastor Grant, every time I read the story, I think about him. Then he said to his disciples who had been with him through all this training, they had seen him deliver people from demons. They had seen him raise the dead. They had seen him heal the sick. They had seen him do all kinds of good stuff because that's what Jesus did. Now it comes time for them to do something and they come to him, well, you need to send these people away because they're really tired and they're hungry because you need to get them into town so they can get something to eat. I can only imagine the thoughts that must have went through the Father's head at that point. Because he turned to them and he said, why send them into town? You feed them. Why would I do that? They're tired, they're weary, they've been with me all day. You feed them. Yet the question come back, well, how could we possibly do that? By faith, maybe? You just saw, you've just been with, you just traveled with the man that can do all this. He's shown you that faith does everything. Can you just believe? Don't say Jesus got mad. Don't say he said nothing hateful or mean. He said he took the bread and he took the fishes and he raised them up to heaven. And he thanked the Father for them. And he fed the whole 5,000 men that was there, plus the women and the children. Thank you, Father, for what you do. I trust you. I have faith that you will supply. Some of us are going through that right now because finances are not like they used to be and money's not coming in like it should be. And so sometimes the enemy will really try to get you down. Do you understand one thing? Let me tell you one thing. Don't forget this. God says, I shall supply. Listen, that word shall means there's no doubt. Translate it any way you want to translate it, Hebrew, Greek, or whatever, it means no doubt. I shall supply all your needs according to my riches in glory. God's not bankrupt. He don't have to take a loan out no place. And if he says he's going to meet our needs, he's going to meet our needs just like he met the needs of the 5,000 there. Just like he fed them because he trusted in his Father and he believed when he prayed. Okay? We have faith. We have that kind of faith that can move literally mountains. We have that ongoing faith that if it's not as strong today as it was yesterday, God can help us with that. We have that kind of faith that maybe we got weary and we laid something down, but God said, pick it back up. Let me make you stronger in it. That's the kind of faith he wants us to have. He wants us to continually be growing in him. He wants us to know there is a strategy. I've told you this for 5 weeks now. And I'll continue telling you the other 2 because you'll keep hearing this. There is a strategy from the pits of hell. And that strategy is pointed at each individual. The devil knows what can take me down. He knows what can take you down. But God knows what can keep you standing. And if you're behind that face shield that He put up in front of you, and you're believing Him to work all things out for your good, and you're standing on His promises, which are 8,810, now that's been cataloged, there's probably more, but that's the cataloged amount. All He's telling you is, put your hand out. I'm not going to put it in your hand, you got to come and get it. Do something with your faith. Give it a job to do. Don't just let it lay around and die. Don't let the enemy's strategies kill you off, get you discouraged, get you down, get you beaten to where you won't stand up and fight for the things of God or for God's people. It's so easy to be intimidated by the devil because he knows exactly who to put in your path to do that. Strategy. But let me tell you what's even more fascinating to me. The enemy will turn tail and run every time you show him Jesus. Do you understand that? You don't have to go and do it all by yourself. Because God is there to help you every step of the way, to build your faith till it's so strong that nothing can penetrate it. When the enemy would gang around the army, the Roman army, and they would get all their fiery darts ready, and they'd be ready to go to battle, let me tell you what one good thing was about what I saw in this. Maybe you don't know this because not a lot of people teach on this because it's just stuff they think is matters. The first dart that the Roman soldiers used was just like any regular arrow that you use in a bow and arrow today. The second one that they would use would be the kind that they would put tire on, and they would light them on fire and they'd send them over. But there was even another kind that they would actually fill full of something that would be combustible, and when they light it and it would hit something, it would flame. But see, this is what the Roman soldiers learned. They had this thing called a turtle formation. Looks something like that. Now, you can't see that there. All you can see some legs there. They didn't have their proper boots on, I don't think. But when they saw the enemy coming, and they saw that the fiery darts were getting ready to come into their army, let's put this on a personal basis, okay? Let's get it to where God wants us to get it tonight. Your brothers and sisters are part of your army of God. Do you understand that? Your brothers and sisters are part of your army of God. And if one's under attack, we're all under attack. You understand that? And the enemy knows how to light the right torch to send it to the right place. But if you're hooked together in your faith, if that armor is back to back, you're covered from head to toe. Because as you can see, there ain't nothing getting through that. We are not made to be alone. God didn't create us to be a little island. Although I know there's sometimes when some of us just want to go away and just stick our head in something and don't ever come out. I've been there too. I know that too. He didn't call us to be that way. He called us to be a mighty armor of God. When the enemy sees one of us coming, he should see us all coming. That's how united we should be. That's how fortified we should be. That's how prepared we should be to take care of one another. Many hours of night when I'm resting and when I'm trying to sleep, God will wake me up and He has me pray for people. Lots of times I don't even know what's going on. But by the time the next day comes, God has already revealed what is going on and why it's important to get up. You know, God don't make me get up. And there's times when God shakes me and I need to get up that I don't get up. See, I'm not trying to make myself look good here, just so you know that. And when I don't get up, I regret that I didn't. Because there's a fiery dart heading somebody's way. And if my armor had been hooked, if my shield had been in place, and God and I were agreeing, because the Bible says this, if two or more are gathered in my name, I'm in the midst. He does say that. And you know when you're praying and you're praying in the Spirit, you and the Father and the Holy Spirit are there. But if you want to go back to sleep, God will let you do that, but then you put somebody. I'm not going to make you feel guilty or bad about that because we all do that. But when God says you need to get up and you need to intercede, honey, get up and intercede. You won't regret you did that. You would have hooked your shield to somebody else by faith and maybe helped them make through a night they wouldn't have made it through. God wants our faith to be continually being strong and being strong and being strong and being strong. I promise I'm ending. When I told you there's all kinds of faith, the mustard seed faith that most people don't want to talk about, the tiny little faith that most people say, well, we all have mustard seed faith, right? God used that, I believe, as an illustration to let you know, even though a mustard seed is the smallest seed that there is, if you plant that seed, it grows so huge within a matter of months that birds can nest in it. Can you imagine what your little mustard seed faith would do if you let God continue to help you grow that? Jesus had just gave his disciples the authority over in, I'm going to be reading out of Matthew 10. Early on before the scripture, in Matthew 10, Jesus had just given his disciples authority and power to cast out devils and demons and any of that stuff. He had already given them authority to do that. But then I'm going to read you this little story, and this is in Matthew 17. He says, at the bottom of the mountain, they were met by a crowd of waiting people. This was Jesus and his disciples. And as they approached, a man came out of the crowd and fell to his knees begging, Master, have mercy on my son. He goes out of his mind and he suffers terribly. He's fallen into seizures. Frequently, he pitches himself into the fire, and other times even into the river. I brought him to your disciples, but they could do nothing for him. Over in chapter 10, Jesus gave them the authority to do the same thing he was doing. Yet when it came down to it, and they were put to where somebody needed them, they said, what? They couldn't handle it. So this man goes straight to the person that he knows that can, and he says, but they could do nothing for him. Jesus said, what a generation. No sense of God. Read that for yourself. Read it in this translation. This is a message, because I like the way this read. Jesus said, what a generation. No sense of God. No focus to your lives. How many times do I have to go over these things? How much longer do I have to put up with this? Bring me the boy. Listen, one person can't do it all. And we're all called to do the same thing. Jesus gave you power and authority when you got saved. As you develop your faith and your faith walk in him, and you believe him to do the things that he wants to do. Listen, maybe you could maybe this would be better for us if we understood this. Do you know that when we lay hands on people and pray for them and God heals them, it's not us. It's God. Do you know when we see people delivered from demons and devils, it's not us, it's God. Maybe if we understood the kind of authority Jesus was talking about, we would move in it more because the focus would be where it should be. God wants to challenge us to let him, listen to me, to let him build our faith. I know I'm not the only one in here that God is doing things totally different with right now. Way back in December of 2019, God started showing me some stuff about myself I didn't like. He got showing me how it's easy to get caught up with the crowd, how it's easy to let your faith dwindle, how it's easy to not keep yourself on fire for God, how it's easy to get caught up in that. And this is what he showed me. He showed me my heart was like clay and there was cracks in it. He didn't show me your heart, he showed me mine. that it was getting dry and it was getting cracks in it. And because I pray almost on a daily basis, Psalms 139, show me my heart. What did I expect? He wouldn't show me my heart? He showed me my heart. So he started doing something different in my life that needed to bring back my faith, bring back my trust, get me back in revival with him, and I had to fight to get that. Didn't come easy because I lost that ground. I had to go back for that. When I was sick back in January, and I'm sitting at home, and it seemed like God was just really getting my heart pliable again. Everything was good, and of course I got really sick. Didn't know where that come from, pits of hell. So I'm sitting there, and he says, you got to get rid of the cobwebs. Praying about my heart again. Now you got to get rid of the cobwebs. And I thought, I know he's not talking to me. I know that can't be me. I'm sitting here praying, and I'm thanking him I'm getting better, and I'm just enjoying some time with him. I know he's not talking to me. So I walk outside, and I'm going around the back of my house where my water hose is, and he brought my attention to a cobweb right in the corner of the window. Oh, yes, he did. That may not be a big deal to you. That was a big deal to me. We don't want cobwebs. We don't want cracks. We don't want dry places. We don't want any place that the enemy can come in and take the faith away from us that God wants us to continually walk in. I can only work on my heart. I can only work on my heart. But I promise you, if you ask God to show you your heart and show you what you need to work on, I promise you, if you mean it, he'll show you. You may be like me and think, I don't really think that was me about the cobwebs. I'm good. But he'll show you. Why does he do that? Because he wants to build that mountain-moving faith in you. When he just looked at a fig tree and cursed it from the root up, that's what we need to be doing to the enemy of our soul. Anytime he's coming at us from any direction, we need to be cursing him from the root up. Putting that shield of faith strong in front of us. Watching our brothers and sisters that needs help and needs love and needs care, and hooking our shields together so we're united, so that we're a mighty army and a mighty force for God. A mighty army and a mighty force for God. The faith place is a place most people don't spend much time. But can I just tell you, you'll never regret it if you do. Every head bowed, every eye closed. Maybe you have allowed the enemy to wear you out in some points of your faith. And maybe you have laid your shield down, and maybe you think to yourself, and the enemy's telling you that too, well, you just can't pick it up now. You've already laid it down, and God sees that. You know God sees that. Yes, he does. But what God also sees is he wants to make you strong in your faith, and he's a merciful, loving, kind God. And thank God he's a God of a second chance. I just thank God that he is. I thank him that he's just like with us, just like he was with his disciples. He sees when they mess up, and it frustrates him. And yes, sometimes I think he even got ticked off at them. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. But still, he loved them enough to continue on with them till the very day that he laid his life down for all of us. According to what God shows you about your heart tonight, according to what God shows you about your faith tonight, according to as you feel in your heart, so shall it be. And ask God if there's any cracks. Ask God if there's any cobwebs. Ask God if there is some place you've laid something down that you need to pick right back up and get strong in your faith. And I want you to say, nobody looking around, please, this is a personal thing. If you're in here tonight and you think my faith has really been challenged, and I can clearly see now where it's coming from. If that's you, I want you to raise your hand, not to me, to God. Thank you for those hands. So I know I'm not alone. My faith has really been challenged too. But God is saying, be of good cheer, and know that you're fighting from a place of victory because I won that for you. Lord, these are your people. They're called by your name. You've called them into a destiny. And Lord, from every single chair that's in here, that's not even a person sitting in it, by faith, I see them full again someday, God. I see people shouting and praising and leaping for joy, Father God, for you. I see you delivering and setting free, and I see souls being saved because your army, your church, that you will always have a remnant of people, will always rise and give you glory and give you credit. In Jesus' name I pray, amen and amen. You all are free to go. God bless you, and thank you so much for coming.